Okay, we're making meatloaf here today. This is a really simple, straightforward dish. I'm not going to give you a recipe. I'm going to give you a guideline on how to make it. I mean, the recipe will be here, but this is more an idea. You can make meatloaf and build your own recipe however you like. The idea of meatloaf is to take a small amount of meat and stretch it so you can feed your whole family. You know, when it was originally created, you know, it was the end of the week. You had a pound of meat. You got 8 kids. How are you going to feed them? You've got some stale bread. You toast it up. You mix it with whatever, you know, half rotten vegetables you have, whatever breadcrumbs you have, some eggs from your chickens, and whatever else you can find to stretch it out to make a meal for your entire family, you know. And it's a way for people to sort of economically feed their families. This particular recipe that I'm making here is not economical. It's wrapped in bacon. It's filled with lots of things. So, you know, but you can adjust this to whatever you want. Make it however you like. So that's just peppers and onions. Half an onion, half a red pepper. Throw it in. Don't even stress it. Keep your meat. Keep everything cold. 2 eggs. You want to keep everything cold because you want it to emulsify and you don't want to break your fats down. So if it's cold, it'll come out of the oven better structure, better form. Your fat won't liquefy. This is just some barbecue sauce that's mustard based. It's a good sauce. And normally I would use a little barbecue sauce and mustard, but this is a blend, so I went with that. Sriracha for that peppery flavor that it's got. You know, it's got that kind of kick, but mostly flavor. Soy sauce, salty flavor. Pretty nice. Adds a little something different. Then we're just going to put our steak sauces in there, the Worcestershire sauce. A couple of dashes of that. A couple of dashes of A1 sauce. Not too much. Again, you don't want to over liquefy this. You don't want to put too much liquid in there because then you have to put a ton of breadcrumbs in and it makes it difficult. So a couple shots of ketchup to sort of sweeten it up. That Lozano ketchup is very sweet. Garlic powder to just give a little garlic. You can use fresh garlic if you like, but I think garlic powder is fine. Cayenne to give it a little kick, just a little bit. Again, you can leave any of these ingredients out. And then I'm putting oregano, thyme, and rosemary in. If you use Italian breadcrumbs, those have that already in there, so don't add additional or you're going to over season it. It's just a pinch of each. So those are strong flavors. So don't overdo it. Again, this is pretty strong. And I leave the cumin out, even though I love cumin. It just comes up on me for the rest of the day. I'll be tasting meatloaf for 2 days. So I skip cumin, even though I used to love it and put it in my meatloaf always. I no longer do. So we're going to add a little bit of panko breadcrumbs. You can use any breadcrumbs, really. This is just to dry out and again, bind your whole mixture up. You know, I think my container here is a little bit too small. So we'll go with a bigger container. Plop that in there. And we'll work through this. And you really want your product to be cold. So at this point, you're not breaking down the fats. And you're not going to ruin your finished product because you won't know until it comes out of the oven if it's all in crumbles. And if it's all in crumbles, it's because you spent too much time working this and you warmed your meat up, you melted your fat, and you ruined your meatloaf. I am going to add a little bit of salt here because it just needs a little bit. It's questionable whether I actually need to do this or not due to the bacon and the soy sauce and the other sauces that are in there are all salty. I chose to do it. You may choose not to. It's up to you. This did not come out overly salty or underly salty. It was pretty spot on the seasoning. It was pretty strong flavoring. There was a lot of herbs and spices in there, but you know, you can back off or add whatever you want to it, make it as strong or as weak as you want. But again, and at this point, you can add more breadcrumbs and keep adding more breadcrumbs and triple, quadruple the size of your meatloaf if you're trying to, you know, stretch it out to feed a group of people. And then this is some cheese that's made by a dairy farmer friend of mine. It doesn't have a name, so I can't tell you what kind of cheese it is, but you can use whatever you want, mozzarella, cheddar, whatever cheese you have around. This just happens to be made fresh by a friend of mine here. And this is the cheese I'm going to use. It melts like mozzarella, but it's crumbly like cotija. So hard to explain exactly what it is, but it's just good farm cheese, what it is, fresh from the mold. And we're just going to mix all that cheese in. We don't want to overmix the cheese. At this point, you're adding more fat to it. So again, you want to be careful with your fats and not to overdo it. Now we're going to wrap it in bacon. Remember, your bacon runs two ways, the thick side and the thin side. And you want to make sure you start flipping your thin sides and your fat sides, thick sides over, so that you're not having one side sort of lean to the other. So you get a nice even wrap on your bacon. So as you lay out your bacon, you lay out your bacon real nice. I just form up my meatloaf. You can put this on a sheet pan. You can put it on a cookie sheet in a loaf pan. I'm going to do it in this Pyrex pan because I kind of like to stew it in the bacon fat, as you'll see in a little bit, when we put it in the oven, and then drain some of the bacon fat off to get color on the bacon. So that's what I use, just to catch the bacon fat so it's not greasy all over the place, and I can control it a little bit, but also the bacon cooks all the way around, and there's no sides, like the sides aren't stuck to anything. So for me, this Pyrex type pan works really well, but you can use anything. You could just put it on a sheet pan. Just remember, the bacon's going to give you a lot of grease. So now we're going to put it in the oven. We're going to start low. We're going to render the bacon down a little bit. As you can see, I've rendered the fat, and it's looking good. We raised the temp up to get color on there, and it's looking good. We're going to cook it till it's done inside at a high temp, and here it is, the finished product, the bacon wrapped meatloaf. Looking good, ready to slice, eat, and enjoy.